May Wild West here, and guess what I did? I got so damn tired of sleeping in the wet spot, I would actually try and force myself not to orgasm or not to come as hard unless I was on Mr. West's side of the bed.
Real
Yeah,
nice
I'm
of her.
that person. I used to do it all the time.
It's time again for the May Wild West Show, the podcast where we tell the hedonistic adventures of myself and my husband in the modern American Wild West, where outdoor sex results in frostbite at least 6 months out of the year. Our motto is, we'll try anything once for science. If you're looking for completely inappropriate stories and adult content, you've come to the right place, because this podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only and shouldn't be considered professional, medical, or sometimes good advice. The topics we talk about will be spicy, sexy, and not safe for work, kids, or your local PTA Karen. Now let's full send into today's episode.
So today on the show, we have Mr. West with us again, and we are going to try a couple of new ideas. Got a review and some pointers from one of the guys on X who does the shout out, the little guys who help promote the girls who do things like OnlyFans and Fanslies. They're a place for a lot of people to run across different, especially girls. Anyway, I asked him to do a shout out for the show for us, and he did, but he wanted to listen to an episode or two before he did it. One of his ideas was that he thought that the show had a real radio show feel and that we should do more segments. So we came up with some different segment ideas.
And we're going to try them out on the show. But before we go any further with our new ideas, let's talk to my favorite guy in the entire world.
How are you today, Mr. West?
Tired.
Tired? Yeah, you haven't felt well, so I appreciate you helping me out.
No, no problem. I enjoy it.
You're a goddamn hero!
So, speaking of segments,
We're going to start this show off with one of our new segments called Just the Tip, where we're going to give you some tips and tricks that we've learned along the way to help make your sexual adventures more fun or less unpleasant.
Just the tip.
So we started off the episode with a major problem that at least I and Mr. West experienced in our sexual adventures because, well, I am a messy girl.
it was a few years ago. We were playing with a friend of ours. It was a friend that we've known for a while, and he showed up with this blanket, and
It was awesome.
it was the coolest
Thing's
thing
cool as
ever.
shit. We got two of them now.
Yeah, we he had the original Liberator one. Those were like the expensive version. We have one of those that's the throw size, which is, I don't know, how big is it, hon?
I don't have any idea.
Okay, well, one is small and it's called a throw size, and it's not big enough. I mean, it's nice for traveling in case you plan on making a wet spot when you go traveling, but then we got a bigger one for the whole bed.
Right.
And the best part is like you never have to worry about whether or not you're like over top of the towels. Whatever messes you got, you wipe it up with a towel, roll it up, and go to bed. And it's completely waterproof.
Right. You can't. Nothing makes it through it.
Nothing. Like I think you could take it to the beach and like sand wouldn't make it through it.
No, nothing makes it through it. I mean, like literally, it is 100%. You could dump an entire 55-gallon drum of water on it, and as long as it'll hold it, it ain't gonna get nowhere else.
And but they don't feel gross. Well, okay, the Liberator one that we have is kind of like a velvet feel to it. And then the other one that we have that isn't, it's actually top 100% waterproof blanket from Amazon. I'll have the links on in the show notes. So if you want to buy yourself one, you can. We're not getting sponsored by them. Nobody's giving us away any free things. But if, I mean, if Liberator wanted to start giving us free things, we'd be totally down. They've got some cool
Right.
shit. But the one that we got off Amazon, the off-brand one, kind of feels. Do you remember when we were kids and you'd go to Sunday school and they would have like the flannel, the piece of flannel, and the little guys would stick to them?
Yeah, I don't remember none of that. I guess I hadn't really thought about it that much. I just
Okay,
they're
well, all I know
soft. I
is
like
that
them.
when you wear certain kinds of like pajama pants and stuff, you kind of stick to it. Like
It grabs you.
Yeah, it grabs you, which is nice because then you don't slide around like when you're on your hands and knees and you're like really getting it. You like
Right.
catch some grip. My tip of the day is get yourself one of these waterproof blankets because they will end your years of sleeping in the wet spot. Nothing worse than either sleeping on the towel where it's all prickly and not soft like your sheets, or sleeping in the cold, wet spot, or trying to sleep around the cold, wet spot.
Right.
The absolute worst. So there's my big tip for the day. You should definitely get yourself a waterproof blanket.
Just a tip.
Today's episode is called Don't Stick Your Dick in Crazy. It's kind of a multifaceted episode. To start with, the phrase don't stick your dick in crazy. How many times has everybody heard that?
I would at least hope once.
It's kind of a joke, but I mean, the idea is that crazy girls, and it's always crazy girls. I mean, nobody's worried about, I guess if you're gay, maybe there's a don't stick your dick in crazy thing, but the trope is it's always crazy girls.
Right.
The big joke is every girl's bi. It's just a matter of whether or not it's sexual or polar. On the one hand, it's funny. And as one of the crazy girls who, people would probably qualify as the don't stick your dick in crazy, one of my favorite things about sex, especially sex with a new guy or sex in, a threesome situation, is that moment when they either slide their dick into me or I am on top and I slide down and they get this look in their face like, oh shit, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Right. Could be. Could be dangerous.
It could be. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Probably going to be a wild ride either way you look at it.
I would like to get off your wild ride.
And I am sure at this point in life that there are probably several people who are like, "Ugh, you can't make jokes about being crazy."
Fuck, I can't.
I
I just did.
like I said, the fuck I can't because I happen to be bipolar medicated crazy, like ADHD, anxiety, take my pills every day so that I don't go postal.
Well, I don't
Batshit
think it's
crazy.
quite that. I don't think it's quite that bad. It's just, it's not like the crazy one where she, is got to worry about checking her in. It's just because those two types of crazies for sure on that one.
Yeah, I say that I might be the don't stick your dick in crazy kind of crazy, but it's okay because I'm already taken, so I'm not going to get nutso over you.
Right.
I mean, there's only one guy I'm going to get nutso over, and I don't even get jealous about that. In fact, I'm like, yay, go you.
Right.
I actually even have some education background in disabilities and especially emotional disabilities. So the whole difference between having an actual mental illness and just having outside stressors that are causing you to have depression or other kinds of mental health issues. There is a difference.
Right. For sure.
And I think that there are, at least from what I've seen, because I'm nosy and I love the questions that people ask on Reddit or on the Facebook pages. There are so many of them that are exactly the same. And if I see my significant other with somebody else, what if I get jealous? And I have so much anxiety over, what if we're not going to be accepted, or what if nobody's going to like us, or uh, what if I can't perform? I figure in the lifestyle, you're either going to be able to handle these things or you're not. And I don't know many people who can know whether they're going to be able to handle them or not until they're in the situation.
Right. I don't think anybody does.
Well, we
It's
didn't.
one of them thing. No, we didn't. In which we discussed. It's definitely a leap.
So the lifestyle itself can lead to, I don't want to call them like superficial or anything like that, because there are absolute real mental health issues that come with the lifestyle if you aren't prepared, or even if you are prepared, even your personal life being super stressful can make things in the lifestyle amplify your problems.
Right.
For example, the self-esteem, the jealousy, the insecurities, and then there's the rejection. And I think for the rejection portion is probably the hardest for men.
Could be, I guess.
Well, okay, you tell me, how easy is it for me to pick up a guy for a threesome?
Well, it's way easy.
Way easy. How often do men in the lifestyle, whether they're married men or, in a relationship men, or they're single men trying to be in a threesome or work their way into the lifestyle, how often are they getting that opportunity?
Probably not very often.
Not very often, right? And then on top of that, there's the whole guys getting their heads about things and their insecurities, and then their dick doesn't work.
Sometimes that happens.
I think that
I feel bad for
probably,
him too because it sucks.
right? I just think that as far as external cause mental health problems in the lifestyle, men are the most vulnerable.
I could see that.
And the worst part is because, at least especially in a rural part of the country, men are expected to be strong and be able to take care of themselves and take care of everything, and they don't have feelings and they don't get sad and they just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. How
Yeah,
often
but
have you struggled with feelings like you're not good enough, it's never going to work out, or feelings of rejection because you talk to a girl or a lady for a couple of times and then all of a sudden they're gone?
well, when it happens several times, yeah, you start to wonder if it's you. But you start to figure out that it's really not. Yeah, I mean, maybe it is, but at the end of the day, it's the call comes down to is that women have a whole lot bigger pool to pull from than guys do.
Correct. Overwhelmingly, I think men are the most vulnerable to these situations or to having these problems.
Yeah, probably I could say
Women
that. I
have
see
all the
that.
power of the lifestyle. I
Yes, they
mean,
should.
and
They're
even
the
if you
most
look at,
vulnerable.
they are, which is kind of ironic. If you look at women, say, like, for example, women on X, women who are doing OnlyFans and all these different selling their panties and doing texting or sexting for money, there are women across the spectrum from what I would call just like stick thin, petite, or to much larger, they call them what, big, beautiful women. I'm probably classified as one of those too. But the point is there is the wide gamut of what women look like. Men are expected to be 6 foot tall and, have a six pack and a 10-inch dick. And because there's
Most
so
women
many
don't
of
even
them,
know what a 10-inch dick is.
I don't know what a 10-inch dick is.
I mean, maybe a 10-inch dildo, but I actually haven't ever seen a 10-inch dick.
Just saying.
Oh my, I think I'm gonna explode.
Part of what I wanted to talk about today is that idea that men shouldn't have to feel like they have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Do you know that South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, they all have some of the highest rates of suicide in the nation?
Yeah.
And I swear up and down, it's because we tell people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And the number of men committing suicide in this part of the country, even higher.
Yeah, it's a rough place.
Putting yourself into a situation and a lifestyle where you're going to be rejected on a regular basis. I get rejected on a regular basis. There are lots of people who I'm not their cup of tea. I know you can't believe it, that everybody doesn't think I'm wonderful and perfect, but
Right?
I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Now, I probably get rejected a lot less than most single guys for sure, but it does happen. Now, the other thing, a mental health problem with the lifestyle is social media. They say that part of what's wrong with our kids, they're used to this immediate gratification. People are liking their posts on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the new one is that they're using. And so they're constantly getting reassurance of their value and their worth or not if nobody is liking their posts.
Well, I think this is a problem since the internet came out. I don't think it's a new one. We had MySpace and such things that did even far worse
Oh my
in some
God, your top
aspects.
five friends.
I
Oh,
mean, let's be real about like the internet since it's existed has not been a very nice place. People tend to think that they can make it that way, and I don't think it's gonna happen, but good luck on that.
I agree. Because you can hide behind your keyboard and your computer screen. For
Shitty people
example,
can be shittier.
exactly. The number of girls that you see on Twitter, X, whatever, who are OnlyFans girls or in the sex industry who are saying men get on there and call them fat and tell them they're ugly and tell them they're just sluts and they're whores and da 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 da. Half of them, it seems like it really is. It's hard. Which, I mean, it would be
How could
hard.
it not be a little bit hard? I mean but I mean you also I guess at the end I mean I not to I don't know, maybe this is going to come off a little bit wrong, but you also knew what you were getting into when you signed up for it. I mean, let's not try to play games on that, I guess. I mean, it's not a very easy lifestyle to play in, and you had a really good idea as to how rough it was when you started.
Right.
So, I mean, like you got to take the good with the bad with some of that. And yeah, there's some real shitty people out there, that's for sure. And that's
The
too
girls
bad.
that I'm always the most impressed with are the ones who can come up with the lines like, yeah, but you're the one looking to buy.
Right. That's also the kind of the funny thing is you're the one on there scrolling the OnlyFans girls, not me.
Right. And I think the girls who have the ability to do that, kudos to them. Most of the time there's been a couple of times that people have said some really shitty things. Like this one guy tried to tell me that I needed to use more updated photos because I don't look like that anymore. And I was like, dude, I took that photo like 5 minutes ago.
Right.
But for
Because,
the most part,
I
I've
mean,
actually been pretty lucky. I mean, I've been called fat a couple of times and whatever, but I've been pretty lucky. A lot of people have gotten a lot worse.
well, I think it's a thing. I think it's part and parcel with what you're trying to do is if you want all the good attention, you're gonna have to take some of the bad too.
Right. I do with our podcast. I watch the numbers of how many people have started the podcast, how many viewers we have, how many, well, we've got this many on Spotify and this many on Apple. And, when the numbers go up, I get excited. I have X number of followers on Twitter and I've got a little spreadsheet keeping track of these things, which I'm trying to relate them to like the episodes and how things are going. But, part of it is that instant gratification of look at how many people like me. Look at how many people like our show.
Right.
I guess I could say I fall kind of victim to those things. And I didn't used to as bad, but I find that with the podcast, so much more of my brain is wrapped up in the whole lifestyle and that I think about it a lot more.
Well, you kind of turned it into a job a little bit.
A little bit. It's kind of like a fun job. Sometimes not as much fun, but sometimes fun. Most of the time fun.
Right.
I guess what I am trying to say is that I can see now more so than I used to be able to see how people can get really down on themselves if people aren't liking what they're doing and they're not getting the little hearts and they're not getting the views and how those numbers could start making you measurements of your worth.
Your self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sad, but I think it's part of also the world that we created and live in.
It is. And I mean, I don't think that there's like any really going backwards. I mean, I think it is
Oh,
what it is at this point, unless we decide to like nuke the whole internet.
right. I
Well,
think the shitty people exist without the internet too. So I mean, like and then you
you
just
are
get to deal with those
correct.
people. Then you just get to deal with those people in person.
And if nothing
So
else, the internet has allowed people like us to be able to be in the lifestyle without having to be in the lifestyle with the people who are in our small town. And it's allowed, I say, rural people to be able to have more experiences and have more availability to be a part of these experiences.
right,
I mean, I don't think that anybody from, Podunkville, South Dakota had any idea that places like the Mont Chalet existed, which it's existed for forever, I think, back in the,
right,
80s and 90s, unless they were going down to Denver and checking out the club scenes. It was more something the local area, I guess probably Denver metro area, had an idea existed.
right.
And the last thing I could think of that would be external mental health issues that come with a lifestyle would be what happens when everybody finds out, or what if everybody finds out?
Well, shit, that sucks. But well, you did it knowing that that's exactly what could happen.
Yes. The question is what comes afterwards. That's what the fear is what comes after you get found out. Are you going to be ostracized? Are your kids going to be ostracized? Should you have
Oh,
even done this? Are you going to ruin your children's lives? They've
good
actually done
questions to ask
studies.
before you do it.
You got to mitigate. It's kind of
Well,
like mitigating
absolutely.
your kinks so that you don't end up with an STD or you have less of a chance of ending up with an STD. Mitigate the situations you put yourself in so you have less of a chance of ending up missing a kidney or being sold into sex slavery. Mitigate.
Right,
But they actually have done studies. I was reading on the internet for, I don't know, several hours one day. And psychologists, counselors, mental health professionals as a whole do not seem to be impressed with the lifestyle.
Meh. What's up, Doc?
No, because it creates a whole lot of shit for
It
them to
can.
deal with.
People in consensual non-monogamous relationships experience psychological stress at a greater level on the regular than people who don't do stupid shit like decide to step outside the norms. Okay, maybe not stupid shit, but you get caught, a lot of people are going to think you're kind of an idiot.
Right? Maybe.
But stepping outside of the norms is always going to make people, it will,
Makes people
stepping outside the
uncomfortable.
norms will always make people,
It makes people uncomfortable and makes them judgy,
yes,
makes them assholes
yes.
because they don't understand it and or whatever the case may be. And at the end of the day, I figure that kind of like this, stay in your own fucking lane. I don't come to your job and throw rocks at you.
Why don't you mind your own business, you old fuck?
I agree completely. What goes on in my bedroom and or a hotel room somewhere between me and other consenting adults is nobody else's business.
Pretty much.
And now on to the flip side of the coin.
The lifestyle is not going to fix you,
Yeah, the lifestyle is not going to fix you, which leads to
nor
a,
your problems.
especially not your marriage problems, but definitely not your personal problems, which makes the idea that I'm bipolar and have ADHD, anxiety, all these other things makes it look like being in the lifestyle is a terrible idea.
We both knew this was a bad idea.
Probably for 99% of other people that would try it, and this can, in these circumstances, it probably would be. And it might be for us at the end of the day, but you only live once.
Right. Part of the problem is, especially in, I would say, rural America, the social stigmas surrounding mental illnesses and mental health issues are so strong.
Also true.
I mean, it's that whole don't stick your dick in crazy.
Or for our female listeners, don't let a loon in your poon.
I don't know why that my boss was being so bipolar, which personally, I don't care. Make jokes about being crazy. I make jokes about being crazy all the time. I figure it's one of those things, own it.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
People pull away from people who out themselves as having mental illnesses because, well, you're ignorant. And, ignorant in a don't know anything about it versus you're just an ignorant fucking idiot.
Right?
Or you could be a ignorant fucking idiot. But where I guess for us, I see my mental health issues are actually benefit from being in the lifestyle because hypersexuality is often a sign of, for example, with bipolar, it can be a sign that you're going manic, but it
Right?
also can just be a pressure release valve.
Under pressure. Under pressure.
I had a counselor one time who explained it kind of like this is if you hold your hand out and you put like a glob of slime, like your kids play with a glob of slime in your hand, it'll just sit there. It might kind of run over the edge, but for the most part, it'll just sit there in your hand. Once you start to squeeze that slime, it starts squirting out all over and makes a huge ass fucking mess. You can't, for me anyway, I can't keep my crazy contained all the time. If you squeeze hard enough, it's going to squirt out all over everywhere and then burn your life down. So for Mr. West and I going and what we tell, we tell people, well, we're going to go party. And that means, maybe we do some psychedelics and we have wild kinky sex, or maybe we go to the strip club, or maybe we fucking do lines of coke off a stripper's ass. But as long as you're not ruining your life by spending all your money on drugs and hookers, letting off a little bit of pressure, a little bit of steam isn't a bad thing.
I don't think so.
Kind of like that whole follow the dopamine deal.
Just don't follow it down the deep, dark holes.
Right. which is, I guess why you have to have somebody, at least for us, have somebody who is your partner to watch to make sure that you're not going too far. You're not taking it to the extreme. Which, I mean, I guess doing lines of coke off of a stripper's ass kind of sounds like the extreme, which it
Never
would
done that
be
yet, but
pretty extreme.
wouldn't might not be a bad time,
It'd probably be fun, but it'd definitely be even extreme for us.
right?
We've tried to hire a hooker. If anybody knows how to hire a hooker, please get a hold of us. We have tried this. We got scammed. Well, okay, Mr. West did not get scammed. He knew what was happening.
It was the best $50 I ever spent.
Okay, tell the story.
Once upon a time.
I don't know. We're trying to find a hooker, and this one like wanted like $50 per deposit, like come over, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm never getting this $50 back, but I'm gonna make it worth it. So then I spent the next like 4 hours completely fucking with this person and making him send me Snapchats and begging me for more money, and I found it somewhat entertaining.
And if they tell you send them the $50 and then they'll show up and then they send you a blurry picture of a parking lot, they are
They
not in your
didn't show
parking
up.
lot.
They're not. It was
They are
it was a
not in
source of
your parking
entertainment for
lot.
a while though. It was worth
It
the 50
was.
bucks,
Probably our problem was is finding a hooker that the deposit was only $50.
right?
That probably was the first sign that this was not going to work out.
Maybe.
I know that there are people who are thinking, "Oh my God, the last thing I would want to do is hook up with a couple where somebody in there is bipolar." Because, there's crazy drama and there's crazy fun. And I think personally, in my experience, crazy drama has a lot more to do with the first types of mental health issues we were talking about with the self-worth and the jealousy and the rejection and insecurities than it has to do with actual diagnosed mental illnesses. I think that most drama comes from jealousy and insecurities.
Right?
That, or when drunk girls get into a fight in your sauna or your hot tub,
Hot tub. Yeah. That'll
that
ruin a night.
causes drama. When drunk girls get into a fight in your hot tub.
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
Never
But
fun.
oh man, I was not a happy camper.
No.
So one way Mr. West and I keep the drama from happening is we have a very strict rule. If we are fighting or we are having disagreements or my mental health is acting up and I'm being crazy, we don't play to the point where I don't text other people. I don't talk to other people as far as like setting things up, making plans, or even getting to know people while we're in that situation where there is possibility of causing drama in our between us or dragging somebody else into our drama.
Right? And that's the last thing anybody wants to deal with for sure.
To me, it's so easy. Like you're starting to develop these sort of like friendships with these people, getting to know them. They say, "How are you doing?" You say, "Oh, my day's been a shit show." They're like, "Oh, what happened?" And then the next thing you know, you're telling them, "Oh, my husband's an asshole." Which he isn't an asshole. He just like, didn't put the dishes away. And he pissed you off that day because it was like that time of the month and the kids are
Or I could have
fucking
been an asshole.
obnoxious. Or you're being an asshole. Could be either one.
Am I the asshole?
But the last thing you want to do is drag other people into that.
Right.
So that's our big rule to prevent drama. So then I guess the question when I got to after I thought about all of that is so what are the benefits if you have a mental illness or you have mental health issues? What's the benefit of being in the lifestyle?
I would probably say for most, probably not much,
See, and I think you're wrong.
but maybe I could be wrong.
But it comes back to the whether or not you are working towards mitigating or working on bettering those mental health problems or not.
Yeah, and that's where I think where we come back to my statement.
Probably. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been in like counseling or therapy for most of my life since I was like 8 years old. So technically, when we came into the idea of swinging and being in the lifestyle, all of the things that you need, all of the communication skills, all of the relationship skills that you need to be successful in the lifestyle with your partner are already skills that people who have dealt with their mental health issues are already working on. One of the first things they teach you is like reflective listening and how to communicate and how to interact with other people.
Right?
So you already start out at like a step ahead of everybody else.
Maybe.
I think that the thing that I have gotten the most and that has been the best for my mental health as far as being in the lifestyle is acceptance.
I would say that
Because
that's a good thing from it.
I agree. I don't ever have to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. It's okay that I am May Wild West who talks about sex and who enjoys sex and is a flirt. Whereas those are all things you have to like, tamp down on and not be quite so wild and crazy in the real world and watch what you say and don't be too big and too loud.
True.
I think that if you can find that in the lifestyle, then I think that being in the lifestyle can be a benefit to your mental health. The other thing for me, and I don't know about for you, but it's been a huge boost to my self-worth and my confidence
It has.
because of the acceptance. I can walk around naked at a naked swimming pool and not feel like I have people going, "Ooh, look at her." So I don't know. I guess that's for what it's worth, that's where I think that for me, what I found in the lifestyle as far as how it helps my mental health, those are the two big ones for me.
I can agree with that.
Oh yeah!
So then I want to bring us to another new segment of the May Wild West show, and I'm going to call it Western Wisdom. And this week we have a quote from the true, real Mae Wild West, Mae West, the movie starlet, back when it was still black and white movies and back when women were not allowed to be sexy and she was the queen of inappropriate. This is one of my favorite quotes by her, and it's when caught between two evils, I generally pick the one I've never tried before. And I tried to use that as my senior quote, and my mom lost her shit.
I can see why.
I know, right? I was like, how about the other one is I used to be Snow White, but I drifted. But I used to say both of those all the time back, like when I was in college and stuff, because I really thought I was like this bad bitch and was run my mouth and thought I was wild and crazy. Man, I tell you what, if college me could see me now, holy shit, she would be shocked. So I just think it's kind of cool because it's sort of like the Mae West version of what we always say, where I'll try anything for science.
Yeah! Science!
Right?
Which reminded me of a funny story. So you remember your friend who used to tell us that he had a tuna fish can for a dick?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw this out there. If you're gonna tell people that you have a tuna fish can for a dick, you have to be willing to drop trow and show.
I would have to agree.
I
You
mean,
can't say shit like that and not prove it.
Oh yeah? You got any proof on that?
right? I mean, come on, for science. I gotta see that. So if you're gonna tell me that you have a tuna fish can for a dick, then you better be prepared to drop trow and show for science.
Science isn't about why, it's about why not.
So that's kind of our episode. So last but not least, I figure at the end of every episode we can do remember what would Jesus do from like back when, I don't know, I think that was like when I was in college-ish.
I think that's a little bit blasphemous of considering, but okay.
Okay, but not what would Jesus do because Jesus would not be here. It's what would Batman do?
I'm Batman. There you go.
So I think that the first thing the Batman would do is go buy his ass a waterproof blanket.
He might. He
That
just
is the
might.
first thing the Batman would do is go buy himself a waterproof sex blanket. And then the next thing that Batman would do is try something new. So this week, we both have to come up with something new to try and then
Okay,
report
we
back
can do
next
that.
week.
Now I feel the pressure.
Now you feel the pressure?
You can do it!
It's okay. I got some ideas. Maybe we could do something off of the old blackout bingo card.
Never know.
Well, we gotta do something because I already told everybody we're going to.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming and helping me tonight, Mr. West. I appreciate it as always.
Not a problem. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you, and thank you everyone for listening.
So that's all for us today. I want to remind everybody to subscribe and check out my social media for more inappropriate shenanigans. I have X, Reddit, and Instagram, as well as FetLife, Facebook, and a website. That link and those to my social media will be in the podcast description. You'd be my hero for real if you'd check out my social media pages, put a review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen, or share my podcast with your other inappropriate friends. So, if you had a good time with me today, and I'm always a good time, please subscribe so you don't miss out on a single riveting story, shocking confession, or just something dirty and funny. I love hearing your feedback, so feel free to message me on any of my social media. Thanks, and remember, if you can be Batman, always be Batman.